On the night of October 10, 1946, while Bengal celebrated the Kojagari Lakshmi Puja, lamps of devotion turned into torches of horror. The night in Noakhali, now part of Bangladesh, marked one of the darkest chapters in Indian history, when thousands of innocent Hindus were butchered, women were dishonored, and villages were erased from the map. This wasn't a spontaneous violence, it was a planned, targeted massacre carried out under the watch of the Muslim League as the Indian National Congress and the British Raj looked the other way. What followed was silence, betrayal, and the deliberate erasure of Hindu suffering from India's history books. On 10th October 1946, Bengal witnessed the Noakhali Hindu Genocide, an event that exposed how political ambition, religious fanaticism, and colonial indifference could combine to create an unspeakable horror. It was the night of Kojagari Lakshmi Puja, when Hindu Bengalis gathered in devotion, lighting lamps and singing hymns to the goddess of prosperity. But as the full moon rose over Noakhali, it illuminated blood and destruction. Led by Ghulam Sarwar, the hereditary Peer of Daira Sharif, a private militia called Miar Fauj launched a coordinated assault against Hindu homes and temples. The carnage began with the brutal beheading of Rajendra Lal Roy Chaudhary, the Hindu Zamidar of Noakhali. His severed head was paraded before Sarwar as a trophy of hate. His daughters, like countless other women, were abducted and never seen again. That single night saw nearly 400 Hindus slaughtered. In the days that followed, over 5,000 innocent men, women, and children were killed. Temples were desecrated, homes burned, and entire villages wiped off the map. The roots of this bloodshed lay in the infamous Direct Action Day called by Muhammad Ali Jinnah on August 16, 1946, when the Muslim League unleashed violence in Calcutta under the leadership of Hussain Shahid Sohrawardi, then the Premier of Bengal. Thousands of Hindus were killed, and the call for Pakistan or perish turned into a license for mass murder. When the flames of Calcutta dimmed, they spread eastward to Noakhali. There, Sarwar's militia took up the cause, declaring jihad against Hindu families. Mobs armed with machetes, spears, and kerosene surrounded Hindu localities, forcing mass conversions and burning anyone who resisted. The village air that once echoed with conch shells and temple bells trembled with screams and gunfire. Sohrawardi, despite his position as head of the Bengal government, refused to send police help. The British, preoccupied with managing their retreat from India, ignored the cries for help. For them, chaos in Bengal was a convenient justification for the partition. As Noakhali burned, political silence ruled Delhi. The Indian National Congress, led by Jawaharlal Nehru, failed to act. At a time when Hindus were being slaughtered, Congress leaders were busy negotiating power transfers with the British. Mahatma Gandhi's visit to Noakhali weeks later, though symbolic, could not erase the impression that Bengal's Hindus had been abandoned. Nehru, who headed the interim government, showed indifference towards the tragedy. He viewed East Bengali Hindus as provincial and burdensome. His letters and speeches from that period reveal a disturbing lack of empathy. When Hindu refugees fled Noakhali and reached India, they found neglect in the refugee camps. The administration provided little relief, treating the survivors as political inconveniences. The same callousness was seen just a month later in November 1946, when Hindu peasants in Bihar protested against Muslim atrocities. The police opened fire, killing over 400 unarmed villagers. Nehru's government dismissed it as riot control. In one of his letters, Nehru questioned Hindu leaders, asking if killing Muslims in Bihar was their way of showing culture and civilization. There was no word of compassion for the massacred Hindus of Noakhali. Instead, the Congress leadership chose moral equivalence over truth, equating the victims with their perpetrators. The story of Noakhali was later buried by both colonial and post-independence governments. Official reports downplayed the scale of violence. Foreign journalists from Australia and America who visited the region reported thousands of deaths, but official British records reduced the number to hundreds. Survivors' accounts, however, tell a different story of entire families being annihilated, women jumping into ponds to escape, and men forced to convert to Islam at gunpoint. Those who survived fled to Tripura, Assam, and West Bengal, carrying only trauma and the ashes of their homes. Yet their sufferings never found a place in India's official narrative. Post-independence, their tragedy was erased from textbooks in the name of national unity. The legacy of Noakhali carried forward into the refugee crisis after partition in 1947. Millions of East Bengali Hindus crossed into India, haunted by the memory of 1946. But instead of sympathy, they faced bureaucratic apathy. The political establishment, obsessed with maintaining secular optics, branded them encroachers. Their pain was buried under the rhetoric of harmony, even as their stories faded from the public consciousness. Noakhali was not just another riot, it was a civilizational wound. It revealed how easily hatred can consume society when politics fails to protect the innocent. It showed how colonial powers and Congress alike allowed genocide to unfold under the garb of communal unrest. For the descendants of East Bengali Hindus, remembrance is not about revenge, it is about preserving memory. The Noakhali victims were not just statistics. They were families, devotees, and patriots who held on to their dharma even in their final moments. Their courage, their suffering, and their silence are part of India's civilizational fabric. Noakhali remains a haunting reminder of what happens when humanity is sacrificed at the altar of politics. Those who died at Noakhali upheld their faith till their last breath. Today, remembering them is not about merely looking back. It is about ensuring that history never repeats itself.